There comes a time in life when you must draw a line in the sand, when you must declare to yourself and to the world, enough. Because the truth is, what you allow will continue. And if you tolerate what is unacceptable, it will not only shape your environment, it will shape your soul. Life is too short, too precious, too fleeting to be wasted on behaviors that diminish your worth, steal your energy, and poison your spirit. The world will try to test your limits. People will push as far as you let them. But greatness begins when you decide to no longer accept what breaks you, weakens you, or dishonors you. The first behavior you should never tolerate is disrespect. The moment you accept someone speaking down to you, ignoring your value, or mocking your efforts, you've given them permission to define your worth. Respect is not optional. It is the foundation of every healthy relationship, personal or professional. Demand it, stand tall, and if it is not given, walk away with dignity. The second is dishonesty. Lies may sound sweet, but their aftertaste is always bitter. Once you allow dishonesty into your life, it spreads like a cancer. You cannot build trust on broken truth. Do not allow deception to linger in your circle. Hold truth close. It is the compass that will never fail you. The third is negativity. The constant critic, the one who sees darkness in every sunrise, the one who drains joy from every victory. These are weights that keep your spirit grounded. Guard your energy fiercely. Surround yourself with builders, dreamers, believers. Do not give negativity a home in your heart. The fourth is laziness of character. Not the rest we all need, but the laziness of spirit that refuses to grow, refuses to rise, refuses to try. Do not let complacency fester in yourself or in those you walk with. Greatness demands action. Purpose demands discipline. Life rewards those who refuse to settle. The fifth is toxic control. There will always be those who seek to manipulate, to bind, to dictate your every move. But you are not a puppet. You are a human being created with choice, with vision, with power. Do not tolerate control that cages your potential. Break free and reclaim your independence. And finally, the sixth is self-doubt fed by others. Some will try to convince you that you are not capable, not enough, not worthy of the dreams burning inside you. Do not let their voices become your truth. The only limits that matter are the ones you accept. Silence their poison with your progress, with your courage, with your relentless pursuit of what you were meant to do. So, draw your line, build your standards like walls of stone. Protect your soul with the shield of self-respect. These 6 behaviors are not welcome in your life. Not now, not ever. You were made for more, for strength, for dignity, for greatness. Now is the moment to rise. Refuse to be broken. Refuse to be caged. Refuse to be diminished. Stand up and declare to the world and to yourself that you will no longer tolerate what steals your light. Because your life, your destiny, your future are far too valuable to waste on what is unacceptable. There is a moment in life when you realize that the way others treat you is often a reflection of what you have allowed. Disrespect is one of the most poisonous behaviors you can ever permit in your world, and it always begins subtly. A careless word, a dismissive glance, a tone that undermines your worth. At first, you might brush it off thinking it doesn't matter, that it's not worth the fight. But what begins as a whisper soon grows into a thunder, if left unchallenged. When you allow disrespect to take root, it begins to chip away at your confidence. It begins to shrink your voice. It begins to make you question whether your presence matters as much as you once believed. But you must understand this truth. The way others treat you sets the stage for how you treat yourself. If you accept disrespect, you silently declare to the world that your boundaries are weak, that your dignity is negotiable, that your value can be discounted. And when the world senses weakness, it does not hesitate to exploit it. To never tolerate disrespect is not arrogance. It is self-preservation. It is the recognition that every human being, yourself included, deserves to be seen, heard, and valued. Think about the moments in history, in leadership, in family, in personal growth. Nothing strong has ever been built on a foundation of disrespect. Respect is the currency of connection, the foundation of trust, the glue that binds people together in harmony. Without it, everything collapses. And the tragic thing is, many people spend years carrying the weight of someone else's disrespect. They endure it in silence at work, in relationships, even within their own family. They tell themselves that's just how it is, or maybe I deserve it, until their spirit bends under the constant pressure. But let this be your awakening. Disrespect tolerated becomes disrespect multiplied, and disrespect multiplied becomes the cage that traps your soul. When you refuse to accept disrespect, you are not only drawing a line for others, you are teaching yourself the language of self-worth. You are affirming, I am worthy of kindness. I am worthy of fairness. I am worthy of being spoken to with honor. This affirmation changes everything, because the way you view yourself becomes the standard by which the world views you. When you carry yourself with dignity, you repel those who seek to belittle you. When you stand tall in the face of condescension, you force others to rise to your level or remove themselves from your space. And if they choose not to respect you, then they choose not to belong in your journey. Understand this: respect is not begged for. It is commanded by the way you carry yourself and the boundaries you enforce. You do not need to raise your voice. You do not need to argue endlessly. You do not need to fight with fury. Sometimes the greatest declaration of self-respect is silence, distance, and refusal to engage. To walk away from what belittles you is not weakness. It is strength. To demand that others speak to you as an equal is not pride. It is dignity. To look someone in the eye and say, I will not be treated this way, is not hostility. It is courage. Disrespect has no place in your life, not from strangers, not from friends, not from family, and most importantly, not from yourself. Because if you accept it even once, you plant a seed that grows into a forest of diminished value. But if you cut it at the root, if you uproot it before it spreads, you clear the ground for respect, for honor, for relationships that lift you rather than crush you. You make room for the kind of life where your soul breathes freely, unchained by the weight of degradation. And you must guard that space with vigilance. For the world is quick to test your walls, to see how far it can push, to discover the limits of what you will take. Dishonesty is one of the most destructive forces that can infiltrate your life. It slithers in quietly, disguised as convenience, cloaked in excuses, wrapped in half-truths. At first, a small lie seems harmless. Someone says something to protect feelings, to avoid conflict, to make life easier in the moment. But dishonesty, once allowed, is like a crack in the foundation of a home. Left unchecked, it widens, it deepens, and eventually the entire structure collapses. What makes dishonesty so dangerous is not only the act itself, but the erosion it causes to something far more precious. Just trust, once broken, is one of the hardest things to restore. Think of every meaningful relationship you've ever had: friendship, love, business partnership, family bond. At the core of all of them lies one unshakable pillar: honesty. Without it, nothing else can stand. You cannot build loyalty on lies. You cannot build commitment on deceit. You cannot build love on betrayal. When you allow dishonesty into your life, even in small amounts, you invite chaos into your peace. Because with dishonesty comes doubt, suspicion, and fear. You begin to second-guess everything. You begin to question motives, words, and promises. Your mind becomes restless. Your heart becomes heavy, and the joy that once flowed between people turns into unease. Never tolerate dishonesty, not from others and not from yourself. When someone lies to you, they are not simply hiding the truth. They are stealing your right to make choices based on reality. They are deciding for you what you should know, twisting the story, rewriting the facts, controlling your decisions through falsehoods. That is a form of manipulation, a theft of your freedom. And if you accept it, if you shrug it off as not a big deal, you open the door for more. Dishonesty grows bolder when unchallenged. It becomes a habit, a cycle, until the lies feel like the truth and the truth becomes unrecognizable. But dishonesty does not only come from others, it often comes from within. How many times have you lied to yourself? How many times have you told yourself that you're fine when you're breaking inside, that you'll change tomorrow when you know tomorrow never comes, that you can't achieve something when deep down you know you're afraid to try? Self-deception is the quietest yet deadliest form of dishonesty, because when you lie to yourself, you strip away your own power to grow. You convince yourself to settle for less, to hide your pain, to ignore your potential. You become trapped, not by the lies of others, but by the ones you repeat in your own mind. To never tolerate dishonesty is to choose truth, even when truth is painful, even when truth is heavy, even when truth costs you something. Truth may sting in the moment, but lies will destroy in the long run. Truth may break illusions, but it also sets you free. With truth, you can see clearly. With truth, you can make real choices. With truth, you can build a life that lasts. You must understand, truth is not just a moral principle. It is a survival tool. A business without honesty collapses. A marriage without honesty crumbles. A friendship without honesty disintegrates. Even your relationship with yourself cannot thrive if you refuse to face the truth. You cannot heal from what you will not admit. You cannot grow from what you continue to deny. You cannot rise while you cling to the comfort of lies. This is why you must draw the line with absolute clarity. Lies, no matter how small, do not belong in your life. They are poison wrapped in sugar. And once you taste them, you'll crave the false comfort they give, until they rot you from the inside out. Choose truth, always. Let your life be a reflection of honesty, because the people who truly belong with you, the ones who truly value you, will never need to lie to stay in your presence. And the ones who cannot live in truth do not deserve to walk alongside you. Negativity is a silent thief, a parasite that feeds on joy, drains your energy, and poisons the atmosphere around you. It doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it creeps in quietly, cloaked in sarcasm, disguised as being realistic, or hidden in constant complaints. At first it may seem harmless, just someone venting, just someone pointing out flaws, but if you allow negativity to linger in your space, it begins to alter the way you think, the way you see the world, and the way you believe in yourself. Negativity, once tolerated, becomes a shadow that follows you everywhere, dimming your light, silencing your hope, and suffocating your dreams. There is a difference between facing reality and being negative. Facing reality means acknowledging challenges, but choosing to rise above them. Negativity, however, chooses to magnify the problem and shrink the solution. It convinces you that nothing will work, that no effort is worth it, that failure is inevitable. And when you listen to that voice long enough, whether it comes from others or from within yourself, you start to believe it. You stop trying. You stop pushing. You stop dreaming. You become a prisoner of your own thoughts, chained not by what is real, but by what negativity has made you imagine. You must never tolerate negativity in the people you surround yourself with. There will always be those who see the glass as half empty, who find the flaw in every plan, who laugh at ambition, who scoff at hope. These people are not harmless. They are contagious. Their words spread like a virus, infecting minds, lowering standards, killing momentum. If you allow them close, they will convince you that your mountain is too high to climb, your dream too far to reach, your effort too little to matter. And once they plant that seed in your mind, it begins to grow. Suddenly you hesitate. Suddenly you doubt. Suddenly you surrender before you've even begun. But negativity doesn't always come from others. Sometimes the greatest enemy you will face is the voice inside your own head. The whispers that say you're not good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough. The voice that reminds you of your failures, magnifies your flaws, and downplays your victories. That inner critic feeds on negativity, and the more you listen, the more it grows. You cannot afford to let that voice go unchecked. You must learn to challenge it, to silence it, to replace it with words of strength, words of hope, words of belief. Because what you say to yourself matters more than anything anyone else can ever say to you. To never tolerate negativity is to protect your mind like the fortress it is. It is to set boundaries, not just with people, but with thoughts. When negativity tries to enter your space, you confront it, you reject it, you push it out before it takes hold. This does not mean ignoring problems or pretending life is perfect. It means refusing to let problems define your life. It means choosing perspective, choosing gratitude, choosing possibility. It means recognizing that challenges are not walls meant to stop you, but doors meant to be opened. Negativity is heavy, but positivity is power. And you must decide which one you will carry. The world is already filled with enough darkness, enough doubt, enough despair. Do not add to it by tolerating negativity in your life. Surround yourself with those who believe, those who encourage, those who push you to rise higher. Speak words that lift, that build, that inspire. Fill your environment with hope, with vision, with strength. Because when you choose positivity over negativity, you choose life over decay, growth over stagnation, victory over defeat. There is nothing more suffocating than the weight of toxic control. It is the invisible chain that binds your spirit, the unseen hand that dictates your choices, the quiet force that robs you of your independence. At first, it may appear as care, guidance, or protection. Someone telling you what to do, what to say, how to live, under the disguise of knowing better or helping you. But with time, that mask falls away, and you begin to see it for what it truly is. Domination. Toxic control is never about love. It is never about safety. It is always about power. Power over your thoughts, your actions, and your life. And when you tolerate it, you hand over the keys to your freedom. Toxic control shows up in many forms. It can come from relationships, where one person manipulates the other into silence, compliance, and obedience. It can come from workplaces, where leaders abuse their authority to dictate every move, stifling creativity and crushing morale. It can even come from society itself, through systems and expectations designed to keep you small, obedient, and unfulfilled. And sometimes it doesn't come from outside at all. It comes from within. Self-imposed control born from fear, where you cage yourself with doubt, perfectionism, and excuses, convincing yourself that you're safer inside the prison you built than out in the open, where you belong. Never tolerate toxic control, because the longer you live under it, the more you lose yourself. You begin to doubt your instincts. You begin to silence your own voice. You begin to forget what freedom even feels like. You shrink to fit someone else's mold, bending your will until you are no longer living your life, but a life scripted by someone else. And nothing is more tragic than a soul that was born free, but chooses to remain chained. To break free from toxic control is not rebellion, it is reclamation. It is the act of taking back what has always been yours, your choices, your voice, your destiny. It does not mean you reject wisdom, guidance, or accountability. It means you refuse to surrender your right to decide who you are and where you are going. Freedom does not come from waiting for permission. Freedom comes from drawing boundaries and standing firm when those boundaries are tested. It comes from looking control in the eye and saying, "You will not own me." When you refuse toxic control, you reclaim your power. You discover that your voice carries weight. Your choices carry meaning. Your life carries purpose. And as you begin to walk in freedom, something powerful happens. The fear that once held you captive begins to dissolve. You realize that the world does not collapse when you make your own decisions. You realize that your worth is not determined by obedience to someone else's demands. You realize that you are far stronger, far braver, far more capable than you were ever led to believe. Understand this. Control, tolerated, becomes control intensified. The more you allow someone or something to dictate your path, the harder it becomes to break away. The chains grow thicker, the prison walls higher, until escape feels impossible. But no matter how strong the grip of control may feel, it is never stronger than your will to be free. Freedom begins with one decision. The decision to say no. No to manipulation. No to domination. No to living a life that is not yours. And once you make that decision, the chains begin to crack, and the prison doors begin to open. Toxic control is the enemy of growth, the enemy of freedom, the enemy of destiny. It seeks to silence your voice, but your voice was made to be heard. It seeks to cage your spirit, but your spirit was made to soar. It seeks to dictate your path, but your path was meant to be chosen by you and you alone.